Welcome to SR PHARMA GYAN. Today, in our fifth lecture on the series of diabetes mellitus and antidiabetic drug, we are going to discuss on the sulfonylureas and meglitinides. So first we talk about the sulfonylureas. So coming to the history, the hypoglycemic effect of the synthetic sulfur compounds, it was first found into the 1937 by Ruins and his colleague. Then sulfonylurea produced hypoglycemic effect that was first established by the 1942 in Marcel Janbon and his colleague. And in 1946 it was found that this type of the drug stimulates beta cell and induces the release of the insulin. So the first generation of the sulfonylurea, like tolbutamide, it came into the market in between the 1954 to 56, and then second generation of the drugs are in market, that is in the 1984. Now coming to that, this is the sulfonylurea group. If we are talk about that, this is the sulfonylurea group and this is the general structure of the sulfonylurea. So this is the general structure of sulfonylurea. And these are the essential chemical fragments of the sulfonylurea drug. So these are the aryl group, sulfonyl group and urea. So these are the three essential fragments of the sulfonylurea group. Sulfonylurea, as we have told, that it consists of the three major structural units: para-substituted phenyl ring, sulfonyl ring and substituted urea. This is the three. Aryl group, the R group, are responsible for the lipophilic character, while sulfonyl and urea moiety, it is responsible for the hydrophilic character. All these groups, if we are talking about all these three major groups, are essential for their activity. All these groups are the essential for their activity. Potency, metabolism, duration and elimination largely depends on the lipophilic part. It is lipophilic part, as we have told, aryl and R group, lipophilic part, while aryl sulfonylureas are weak acid and ionized in the physiological pH. The potency and plasma protein binding, the potency and plasma protein binding are largely related to the ionized property. Now in general, if we are talking about this, substitution in the benzene ring with methyl, acetyl, chloro, bromo, trifluoromethane, etc. in para position, substitution with these groups tend to potentiate their activity. So this is also, it is important about the sulfonylureas. Now this is the general structure of the sulfonylurea. If we are to the drugs, this is the general structure, and this is one of the example of the first generation of drug, tolbutamide and glipizide. This comes under the second generation. So this is the first generation of drug, this is the second generation of the drug. Now to have seen that second generation of sulfonylurea, second generation of sulfonylurea are more potent than the first generation drug. Now first we are going to discuss about the mechanism of action. So this is the beta cell. This is the beta cell. Now beta cell consists of the K-ATP channel, ATP sensitized potassium channel. Here we have shown the calcium channel, and they consist of the GLUT2. This is the glucose transporter, and in pancreatic beta cell the GLUT2 is present. Now we'll see about the mechanism of action of sulfonylurea. So first of all, glucose enter into the pancreatic beta cell. It is entering, clear? It is entering into the pancreatic beta cell through GLUT2. Through GLUT2 it is entering into the pancreatic beta cell. Inside the beta cell, in presence of the glucokinase, hexokinase like, it is convert into the glucose 6-phosphate. So it is converting into the glucose 6-phosphate, and then thereby through the glycolysis, TCA cycle, oxidative phosphorylation, clear? TCA cycle, glycolysis and phosphorylation, it is producing the ATP, clear? ATP. So increase into the production of the ATP. Now ATP is increasing. That means ATP is increasing means the ratio between the ATP by ADP is also increasing. The ratio is also increasing, ATP by ADP. When the ATP is increasing, it is triggering or it is sensitizing K-ATP channel. Clear? It is sensitizing K-ATP channel. Whenever it is sensitizing the K-ATP channel, the potassium ion, clear? Potassium ion, which is the positively charged ion, they will go outside, because in any cell in the resting membrane potential, if you see that potassium level is more in the inside the cell than the outside. So through the potassium channel it will go outside. Clear? It is going outside as we have shown it here. Now sulfonylurea, this type of the drug, either the first generation or the second generation of the sulfonylurea. Now sulfonylurea act on the sulfonylurea receptor SUR1, sulfonylurea receptor 1. This is a specific area of K-ATP channel. This is the specific area on the K-ATP channel. So sulfonylurea, it will bind to the sulfonylurea receptor 1 of potassium channel. After it binding to this channel, they will block this channel. Clear? They are going to block this channel. As this channel it will be blocked, after the binding of the sulfonylureas, the potassium cannot go outside. So potassium cannot go outside. So potassium movement or the towards the outside is blocked. If the potassium it is not going outside, that means concentration of the potassium is increasing. Clear? Potassium increasing in the inside. As a result, as it is increasing inside, so it is called the depolarization. Clear? It will result the depolarization, and this will trigger the calcium ion to come inside through the calcium channel. Through the calcium channel, so calcium now coming inside the cell. And already in our previous video we have seen that proinsulin, it will convert into the insulin. Clear? It will convert into the insulin, and they will present inside the granules of pancreatic beta cell. Whenever the calcium it is coming inside the cell, then what will happen? Concentration of the calcium is increasing. Clear? Concentration of the calcium is increasing. It also trigger the more increase into the calcium, because in the inside the cell also calcium it is present, it is stored, so they will be also released, and calcium concentration it will be increasing. Whenever calcium concentration it will increasing, this will cause the exocytosis. This will again potentiate the granules to release the insulin. It will release the insulin. So through the exocytosis, insulin it will be released. Clear? It will be released. So this is the mechanism of action of sulfonylurea. So what we are seeing here, first step, glucose, it will enter into the pancreatic beta cell through GLUT2, then through the different process, glucose it will convert into the glucose 6 phosphate, and then thereby it will produce it will go through the glycolysis, TCA cycle, oxidative phosphorylation and ATP generation. It will be there, and then it will trigger the opening of the potassium channel. So potassium it will go outside, but sulfonylurea, they will bind to the sulfonylurea receptor and they will block the potassium channel. It result depolarization and calcium it will come inside. As a result, intracellular calcium level it will be rises. Clear? Intracellular calcium level it will be rises, and in the last step there is an exocytosis due to the increase into the calcium level, and that will trigger the release of the insulin. So sulfonylurea mainly act by triggering the insulin release from pancreatic beta cell. So it is increasing the release of the insulin from the pancreatic beta cell. Now if we are talking about the extra pancreatic effect of the sulfonylurea, extra pancreatic effect, so it is reduce the hepatic gluconeogenesis and enhance peripheral insulin sensitivity. Clear? Insulin sensitivity. In details, if we are talking about that, it was seen that sulfonylurea, in the recent years it was found that other than this effect, that means triggering the insulin release, other than this effect, sulfonylurea can cause enhancement of insulin stimulation of carbohydrate transport in skeletal muscle. Clear? So in the skeletal muscle also carbohydrate transport, glucose transport, it is promoting uptake of the glucose. Then enhancement of the insulin action on the liver. So insulin action, clear? Insulin action also it is increasing into the liver. So here, as we have told, that it is reducing the hepatic gluconeogenesis. In liver, it also causes the inhibition of the triglyceride lipase. Clear? It is causing the inhibition of triglyceride lipase. Then inhibition of the glucose output. Clear? Inhibition of the glucose output. Then in adipose tissue, if we are considering the adipose tissue, it causes the inhibition of lipolysis. So lipolysis it will be inhibited. Inhibition of triglyceride lipase, as we have told, in the adipose tissue also triglyceride lipase it will be inhibited, and increase uptake and oxidation of glucose. So uptake of glucose it is increasing the uptake of glucose and oxidation of the glucose. So this is the extra pancreatic effect of the sulfonylurea. Now coming to the sulfonylurea, sulfonylurea are absorbed by the intestine, of course after the oral intake, because it is a orally given drugs, so oral hypoglycemic agent. So it is absorbed by the intestine after oral intake. These drugs bind to the serum protein, clear? Serum protein, and metabolized by the liver. Now here we can say that sulfonylurea have 90 to 99% plasma protein binding capacity, and majorly with albumin. 90 to 99% protein binding capacity. Protein binding capacity. It is metabolized by the liver and are excreted in the urine and feces, means bile. Through the bile it is excreted. Duration of action almost 12 to 24 hours. Used into the treatment of the type 2 diabetes mellitus. Type 2 diabetes mellitus. Now these drugs can be used as a monotherapy, or it can be used along with the other drug, like we can say that metformin and other oral hypoglycemic agent. Clear? Oral hypoglycemic agent along with the other oral hypoglycemic agent. This type of the drug can be used to treat some type of the neonatal diabetes. So that can be used for the treatment of the some neonatal diabetes also. They found to reduce HbA1c considerably. Clear? They found to reduce HbA1c considerably. This type of the drug, clear, having their half-life, prolonged half-life in presence of the renal failure. That means if their patient are with the renal failure, then the half-life is increasing. In general, biological effect, clear, biological effect of sulfonylurea last longer than their plasma half-life. So that's why the duration of action up to 24 hours. Clear? Because why it is more than their plasma half-life? Because receptor interaction and formation of active metabolites. So interaction with the receptor and active metabolite. Clear? Persistence of the active metabolite. Due to that, their duration of action, it is last up to 24 hours. Then the general side effect are the hypoglycemia, because they are causing the insulin release. So hypoglycemia, one of the major problem with this type of the drug. Weight gain, will be a weight gain. That's why in the obese people, sulfonylurea drug, it is not recommended. Nausea, skin reaction, hemolytic anemia, and poorer outcome after myocardial infarction. So these are the side effects it is there. Alcohol intolerance, first generation agent, mainly with the first generation agent, alcohol intolerance it is there. So alcoholic patient, again it was avoided. This type of the drug, it was avoided. In case of the long-term use of the older sulfonylurea, clear, older sulfonylurea, long-term use, secondary failure, that means progressive dysfunction of the beta cell. What does it mean? If we are using the older sulfonylureas for a very long duration, though it is increasing the insulin release, but it was found that they cause destruction, clear, they cause progressive destruction of the beta cell. So ultimately the situation, it will be worse. Renal impairment, particular problem with the glyburide, and contraindication like beta blocker, severe cardiovascular comorbidity, obesity, sulfonamide drug, because they are having the skin rashes problem. Now if we are using the sulfonamide drug, so some cases it can be enhanced. So this is all about the sulfonylurea. Next, coming to the meglitinide. Now meglitinide, if we are talking about the meglitinide, or this is also known as a that is the glinides, clear, glinides. Now glinides, this is the first agent in this class, that is the repaglinide. It was approved into the 1997, and nataglinide, it is approved into the 2000. Clear? It is approved into the 2000. So it is again non-sulfonylurea drug. It is a non-sulfonylurea drug used for the treatment of the type 2 diabetes. So this is the general structure. This is the nataglinide and repaglinide. So meglitinide, similar structure like that of the sulfonylurea, consisting structurally of the sulfonylurea moiety of glyburide and benzoic acid derivative. Clear? Benzoic acid derivative, it is there. Now coming to the mechanism of action, clear? Mechanism of action, generally these drugs show rapid onset and shorter duration of action. Rapid onset and shorter duration of action. So it is the mechanism, it is almost similar to that of sulfonylurea as we have discussed in the details. Only difference is that meglitinide, they won't act on the sulfonylurea receptor. They are not going to act on the sulfonylurea receptor. Other than that, meglitinide, it will bind to a distinct site of the K-ATP channel. They are going to bind in a distinct site of the K-ATP channel, and similarly they will block the potassium channel, so potassium cannot go outside. It will cause the depolarization, so that calcium come inside, intracellular calcium level it will be increases, and this calcium, it will cause the exocytosis and release of insulin. Only difference that they are not going to bind with the sulfonylurea receptor, they will going to bind with the distinct site of the K-ATP channel, Now coming to the meglitinide, they generally need to be taken prior to the meal, clear? Prior to the meal. It is well absorbed, after oral administration, Oral administration, they are well absorbed, metabolized in liver and excreted through bile. Mainly these drugs are used in type 2 diabetes mellitus, type 2 diabetes mellitus with post-prandial peak in the blood glucose level. Generally these drugs weaker binding affinity, they are the weaker binding affinity and quick dissociation rate. That is the weaker binding affinity and quick dissociation rate from the binding site, so their duration of action is short, therefore their duration of action is short. So this is the weak binding affinity, and quick dissociation from binding site, therefore their short duration of action. They mainly are useful to regulate post-prandial glucose level in type 2 diabetes patient, which actually helpful to control the blood glucose level after taking of the meal, as we have told here also. Repaglinide having generally rapid onset of action, rapid onset of action. Side effect, hypoglycemia, weight gain, it is there. Now repaglinide, so that should be avoided in the liver disease, Repaglinide, you can say that it is also quickly absorbed into the GIT, and half-life is only repaglinide, it is 1 hour, half-life is 1 hour for repaglinide. Netaglinide, another drug, netaglinide. This drug absorbed within 20 minutes after oral administration, and half-life is 1.5 hour, 1.5 hour half-life. Now itraconazole, fluconazole, erythromycin, clarithromycin, these are sort of the drug increasing the glucose lowering effect of the repaglinide, whereas barbiturate, carbamazepine, rifampin may have the opposite effect, So this is about the meglitinide, So hope you have understood it. If there is any question, any suggestion, any doubt, you can write us in the comment box. So these are the attribution and some of the reference. So thought of the day with a great son of the Indian soil, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. Learning gives creativity, creativity leads to thinking, thinking provides knowledge, and knowledge makes you great. Thank you all.